My name is Adolph, and I met Bob Mund at the Holocaust lecture series at Sonoma State University, and discovered that he was a GI in World War II who happened to come upon the concentration camp survivors, and as a matter of fact, he also has taken some photographs which he put away for a long, long time. It was like a family secret that they did not want to look at very frequently. However, they knew that it was there, and finally, after about 45 years, it kind of surfaced, and Bob and Joy, his wife Joy, came to the Holocaust lecture series, and I asked him if he would talk about that particular experience. Bob, tell me what brought about you coming to the Holocaust lecture series? I believe you mentioned something about Joy suggesting something. Please tell me about that.
Yes, I had kept the experience actually suppressed from anyone I spoke to other than my wife, and then we didn't speak of it frequently. It was suppressed for a good 45 years, and when Joy saw one of the brochures regarding the Holocaust series, she asked if I would like to attend them with her. And my first answer was no, but I felt that I had kept this thing to myself long enough. And though I had no blame, no guilt involved, it was something I just didn't choose to talk about.
So it was that weighed on your mind.
Man's inhumanity to man, yes.
Can you describe some of the scenes? Give me a sense of what it is you saw. We're going to include these photographs that you took within this interview, but that's later. But I'd like to have a sense from you about these photographs that you took, as if you just walked up to it and, what happened.
These are what I did walk up to. It was a total shock that they are photographs of naked men. The camp the prisoners were all men in this particular camp. They were emaciated, as the pictures will show, to the point of near death from starvation. I learned later from overwork and fatigue. It was, I can describe it no other way but total shock. I was totally unprepared. At this time I was just 19, and by the standards of what I was seeing, I had led a very sheltered life. This was unbelievable. I did not believe what I saw.
You were in combat, and you were part of the forces.
I was part of the American forces. We were attached to an evacuation hospital, which is a small unit that follows the large combat units and is set up in any location for whatever purpose the combat commander needs. In this case, he had us set up in this concentration camp after Patton's army had liberated it. The day after, in fact.
Tell a little bit about your family background, and you were a 19-year-old GI, and here you are in combat, and you come upon the scene. Tell me a little bit more about your family, and what did you believe in? What did you, what was your background?
Well, the family was a solid family, as functional as so-called normal families are. I would say middle class to well-to-do.
Here in California?
Yes. I was drafted shortly after within a week after reaching the age of 18, well, within 3 months after reaching the age of 18, drafted one day and married the next. And my experience in the Army was 2 years of training in one form or another in the United States, and then overseas in, to the best of my recollection, it would have been the middle of March in 1945.
I see. When you got to this camp that you came upon, that was Ebensee in Germany?
That's correct.
What part of it is that? Ebensee, is that what was formerly the East Germany or West Germany? I'm not quite sure where that is geographically.
I am at a loss, Bernard, to answer your question correctly.
That's quite okay. I just wanted to have an idea, but we can do that.
The camp itself was in Austria. It was not in Germany.
So it was in Austria. It wasn't any there.
That's correct. Yes, Austria.
Okay.
Ebensee, Austria.
Ebensee, Austria. We stand corrected now. This village, the village of Ebensee, was how distant was it from the concentration camp that you came upon? How
2.5 to 3 miles.
2.5 to 3 miles. So the people within the village itself, would you say that they had knowledge of the camp existing there or not?
My opinion is that they had knowledge that it existed. There was a denial system of sorts passed down, I believe, from the adult population to the younger people. I recall one encounter with one of the younger people whom we became quite friendly with, and this person said that she and her parents did not talk about the camps, that her parents told her to talk about it. This was a woman in whose home we were billeted, with she and her parents. I think there was a fear. I think the people feared what had happened. I don't think they understood.
You believe that they did not understand, but they had a great fear about the camp itself, or the repercussions as people who knew about it?
I think they were afraid of repercussions from the SS.
I see.
Who were in control of the camp up until 2 weeks before Patton came through, as I read history today.
As you, I understand that you shared these pictures with your family once in a while. I mean, you brought them out and looked at them, and
to the best of my recollection, and to my wife, I don't recall showing them to anyone else. Possibly my parents when I first came back. I don't know. I don't remember.
What were their reaction, or your children's reaction, to these photographs?
My children never saw them until less than a year ago. The reaction of anyone else prior to that, I don't remember. I spent 45 years putting this out of my mind.
So you were in denial
Totally.
of that. I can well understand that, because I was in denial about my experience for a long time myself. And in talking about it, I believe, though it is difficult, I believe it is a healing moment.
Oh, absolutely. Today, I'm very pleased today I can talk about it. A year ago, it was very traumatic. A year before that, it was virtually impossible.
A year before that, it was impossible. You were just not unable to just talk about it.
I think I expressed my feelings in anger for many years, very intense in the beginning, and it took it that long to subside.
Were you aware that part of that anger that you were carrying was including seeing these human beings who are so starved, and that it shut you down, and this anger was acting on you?
I'm aware of that today.
Today.
I was not aware of it then.
It shows what power images that we store away of experiences that we've had, where it will either open us up or it can shut us down. And in that
Yes,
case, obviously,
yes. It shut down.
shut you down. And I believe it from talking with Joy that it created a separation in some way on one level and a bond on another, because she also shared seeing these pictures, and obviously she's also sensitive in seeing that perhaps you might benefit by coming to the Holocaust lecture series.
Yes.
And at first you said,
Yeah.
no way, and you seem to be very glad that you came, of course, in the end.
I am. Yeah, it definitely caused a separation in that area. It was something I was keeping to myself, unhealthy.
What would you say the fear or whatever it was in you that you couldn't express that you can express now?
I think that it came about directly through the lectures, that is the Holocaust series of lectures, where I began to feel an obligation to bear witness to the fact that what I had seen had actually happened. As I learned, there are some groups of people that feel that this situation was not entirely true, that the Holocaust didn't happen. I saw it happen.
Having said that, it was about a year and a half ago that there were these skinheads that were marching in Napa, and I went to witness that. What is your reaction and the response to that kind of an event happening, where these skinheads and Nazi types and Klan type people are denying, in fact, that the Holocaust happened much of the time? What is your response to them? What can you tell? What can you tell people about that?
I can only tell them of what I saw. To change the attitude of these people, what might be done there, I am simply not qualified to judge that. There must be a lack of training somewhere along the line, a lack of free education from possibly from our schools, not having touched on the bare horror of what man does do to man. That is, so much of our history, I think, that is taught in schools stays with the facts and dates, the causes, and the reactions to those causes as far as the political aspect is concerned, without touching on the humanities, without seeing what war does to people.
About those pictures that you took in Germany after liberation, how did you happen to get those pictures? Can you tell me about that?
Yes, we moved into this area and stopped at the area of the homes in which we were later billeted, and a small detachment of doctors and nurses. Possibly I should explain, the evacuation hospital at that time had approximately 140 enlisted personnel, 40 doctors, 40 nurses, female nurses, in our particular case. and a small detachment of doctors and the company commander went directly to this camp and came back and told us they wanted the female nurses back to the States. This caused a minor labor dispute in which they settled by allowing those nurses to stay, as was just. That's the way it should have been. The picture that they described verbally, I don't think myself and the other enlisted men believed. We shortly had the opportunity to see for ourselves, and we automatically was with us.
So you were feeling that you didn't believe what the descriptions that they were talking about of the people in the camp that they found?
We didn't believe, it's not that we felt they were lying.
Yes, I understand.
It's simply that it was impossible for my mind, at any rate, to conceive the picture that they described.
So
It was a color I had never seen.
the horror and the starvation of the people,
Yes.
and the whole scene, the gruesomeness of it.
Exactly, yes.
So you're talking about that you could not perceive it, and so you took your camera with you because whatever it was.
I think I took a camera with me just because it was going to be something I never had seen before. The shock didn't occur until I actually saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we just automatically took some pictures. From there, the initial shock having worn off, why then it was a feeling of camaraderie through this unit to try to put these people back in the realm of the living. There were, I was told, 1,200 prisoners left there when we came into the camp. That is 1,200 still alive. To the best of my knowledge, we managed to keep 600 to the point of getting healthy enough to leave and pick up their lives wherever they could. There were dead bodies at the camp. I recall being inside of a cement room that I interpreted to be a large refrigerator. I don't really know what the room was. There were bodies stacked in one corner of the room, several deep. We didn't stay in there long. Pictures I have seen since in the Holocaust series make me feel that that was a gas chamber. However, I have seen no reference to fact of a gas chamber being at Evansy. The incinerators I took pictures of, I saw. I put my hands in them. They were there, and they had been used. The tunnels in the hills of that area that the prisoners were working in, I personally was not ever in one of those tunnels. We had on occasion, in little free time, walked up through the hills. There was some concern at that time of SS personnel that were still hiding in the hills, so we always went in groups. Outside of the beauty of the mountains, I recall an area that swarming with flies and an odor that was unquestionably dead flesh. We didn't investigate further. We simply got out of the area. We had been told if we encountered such a situation, we were to leave that area immediately and report the presence of what we thought we had found. As it turned out, it was a mass grave of people who were dying more rapidly than the incinerators could accommodate. The restoration of these people was very touch and go. We were still in the middle of a shooting war. There was no method set up to feed them. There was no source of food. the company commander, through agreement with some other military groups in the area, obtained some small semi-trucks, and they put a driver and 2 armed soldiers on that. And I was told that they went out and took half of whatever food they found in whatever homes they came to. I saw this food come back with my own eyes. The food was separated by vegetable, starch, and sugar, and cooked in these 3 separations in 3 big steam kettles that were at the camp. And this form of gruel, these 3 varieties of gruel, is what was available to these prisoners to try to restore them to health. It was our only source of food.
So the soldiers essentially went out and confiscated half of the food that the civilian population had, that they could find, and that was what you started feeding the prisoners with.
That's right.
And that gives a pretty awesome description of what
We need to emphasize that they took only half.
Yes, yes, yes. That's really beautiful in some way that these people were still treated humanely, and to share the food rather than just take everything away from them.
We might mention there too that I heard no stories, no reports of them having any difficulty collecting these half portions of food. There were no those weapons they carried were ever used or were even needed. So this may indicate that the people at that time were more compassionate towards the situation than they were given credit for. The general public in Austria.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
I had a thought as to my emotion in the situation. We talked of shock, of compassion, and then I wondered, I don't know whether I'm mixing past thoughts with current knowledge or not, but I'm using words that I didn't know at that time when I say perpetrator. There was one incident that I recall that I was required to guard on a garbage dump, a pit in which unwholesome and spoiled food from this gathering had been dumped. And it was necessary to stand guard on that with a carbine, with a rifle, in order to keep the prisoners, the ex-prisoners that we had liberated. You see the word comes in already. In order to keep these people, the ones who were mobile, from jumping in that garbage pit and eating what would have possibly made them very, very ill. There was a peculiar sense of power that I recognized then. And I have had some education on the perpetrator and the victim. I can look back on that and actually feel a change in my attitude, where I could lead specific duty and be full of compassion. While I was doing that duty, there was a strange sense of power.
So you're talking about the power of compassion, I think, or there seems to be more than just compassion that you're talking about.
I was comparing the sense of power as opposed to compassion.
I see.
They were mingled. There was a compassion for this individual that would get into the garbage pit, and yet an anger that he was be doing this, and I had to threaten him physically to keep him away.
You were afraid that he would get sick from the stuff that
Yes.
he would eat, and on the other hand, in this case, it was we, because I was there.
Yes,
I mean, not this particular camp. Anything we could get a hold of.
Exactly.
I mean, what might seem spoiled to you was like gold to us.
yes, yes.
So,
And because I said there would be food for you later, you had no reason to believe that.
no, absolutely.
You had been lied to before.
Exactly. It was, so I can understand your.
So here I was one day a liberator, the next day holding a gun on the same man. And not really qualified to be either.
Situation. That was a wonderful share in remembering that. Joy, we were mentioning your name, but I'm glad to have you on camera now, and perhaps you can tell us, to tell me, about having experienced pictures that Bob took, and also how that affected your life and your children's lives. So maybe you can elaborate on that, please.
Well, he came home with the pictures, and I knew through letters where he had been, and he had been at a prison camp. But actually looking at those pictures, they were believable. I did believe them, of course. And my feelings were that he had to go through that. What did he feel when he saw these people? How did he feel taking care of them? And I got a certain amount of information out of him. I think the biggest thing in his mind was the standing over the garbage. That came out the strongest because it affected him the most emotionally. The duties he had at that time. And then we just didn't talk about it. They were put away. And they were not talked about. I couldn't get any more information, really. Maybe very little. But then they were just put away. I would look at them. And when my children got to be maybe 12, 13, I would bring them out and show them to them and try to explain to them what they were and that data and everything. But I believe due to the fact that it had never been talked about, he had never mentioned it. To them, it was as if it never happened. I could tell that I was talking to a blank wall. They would look at them and see how horrible they were and be horrified with them, but they didn't want to look at them anymore. And I did this a couple of times, and I figured that was it. So I didn't show them anymore, but I kept them and I looked at them frequently. Then it was years before I dared suggest that he go to this Holocaust lecture, hoping that it was time that he could talk about it. Because I knew you can't stuff something like that. And he was so angry whenever you would mention the subject of the war or Europe, and I would say, oh, I'd love to go to Vienna, or it's just sheer anger. You just didn't talk about it. He was just too emotional about it. So the children really, and even today, they understand and they know that he was, but it has never affected them because I think they have the same denial he does because he never talked about it.
So this information that we're getting from you and Bob, your children do not have all that information. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Oh,
that
they
yes,
only
to
saw
a
the
certain
pictures.
extent. They saw the pictures, and I would try to explain it to them, and tell them, but there was this disinterest, as if it didn't happen, because I was not the one that was there. I was only telling a story. So it was more unreal to them, is the way I feel that they reacted. I couldn't get an emotional interest out of them. If he had told them, possibly so.
Do you really believe when you say you couldn't get an emotional interest out of them seeing those pictures, I don't see how anyone doesn't have a reaction. It's like me saying, I don't want you to think about elephants. It's like showing a picture like this. There is a response there, some plays. It might be buried right away. Are you saying that essentially that's your children did?
They had the horror, and then they would say, just put them away. I don't want to see it. It's too horrible.
I can well understand that. I was in denial for a long time myself before I started speaking about that. Tell me, Joy, what difference has it made in your life besides what you described in your children? They're in denial that about seeing these things, whether they really happen or not, and maybe they have much more knowledge now than we both realized. But what did it create in your life? I mean, Bob experienced this. He saw it. He's got the photographs. What happened to you in the relationship that you had? So he was angry. Yes. How did that anger manifest? What did it bring out in your relationship? Or on another level, what did it stop?
Well, I think there was a part of his life that I was shut out of. And if there was anything, no war movies were watched.
No war movies?
No. Anything to do with the subject was, he would, or we would turn it off, because it would, I would imagine, bring back these memories to him that he just did not want to face. I can recall one thing. When this did come out, and we told our daughter last year that we were attending the Holocaust series, and that Bob explained how he reacted to it and was finally able to talk about it, then she did ask the question. And she has two grown sons, 22 and 22, and now she's learning this. But she made the comment, well, for heaven's sakes, now I find out that my dad just didn't peel potatoes in the Army. But that was the only picture she had. This proved to me that she did not take these pictures as being real of this experience, that he just peeled potatoes. And where I had shown the pictures and tried to explain to them what had happened, and I could see where they just completely turned it off. But being that we have gone to the Holocaust series, he has been able to open up and talk about what happened. That part of his life is now back as part of his life and not cut out of our history and our lives. I feel that now, if we had the opportunity, I could go to Vienna and he would go too. All right.
You are right with the memory, and
yes,
I understand. Well, thank you very much, Joy.
Thank you.
The man is right here.
Just go for it. You started to say?
I was just saying that I think it is so good now that you are able to talk about your experiences and to tell other people about them, such as when you were getting the pictures duplicated and the young man and the older man were so astounded by them and had no idea where they came from.
Yeah, this is true. The first time I had these pictures duplicated, I told you that I was shaking in the process. This sounds like this is all, it is about my emotion, I guess. And this time when I had them, excuse me, I had them duplicated for Bernard Palmer, and the young man that did the duplication, I would estimate that he was in his mid-20s, asked me where these pictures came from. And after I told him where they came from, he asked me how I received them. And he was somewhat taken back that I said I took them. We drew a small crowd as people looked over my shoulder at these pictures. I had the opportunity to to advertise the Holocaust lectures a little bit of what's trying to be done. The principle of keeping alive in young people's mind that this type of inhumanity to man could happen again, and to a degree is happening. So it is a privilege to be able to talk about it today, where it for a long time. It's more like a duty.
And then at our grandson's 20th birthday party, the television happened to be on, remember, and it was a picture of the prison camps.
It
It
was
was
a documentary.
a documentary on that. There were two other young men there, 20. And being that you were able to talk about it, we did not have to turn it off, and these young men could ask questions. And
Exactly.
they just didn't believe it, but they could ask questions and you could tell them.
Mm-hmm. Where in the past I would simply have turned it off or insisted that it be turned off.
Mm-hmm.
Where today it is something to be explained and defined.
So it makes both our lives a little more open.
That's true.
I think that's it.
It is a common bond that was established. I'm going to cry now.
You wouldn't tell a smile. So you're just talking some serious stuff.
Interesting that we can smile over what those who were not there cannot smile. The area in our life that are total disaster are things that we can identify with and smile today as horrible as they were. And there's other areas in my life that are similar, that are totally unrelated to this. And the people involved and I laugh about these things in their life again. Not to criticize you in any way, but those who were there will identify with the humor. They're not.
Oh yeah, it's a
will not.
real unique and special
And I know you know what I'm
experience.
talking.
I can understand intellectually, but I can't get
Right.
I didn't
No way to
experience
feel
it.
the emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. You saw the hope. You saw that there were some
Yes.
survivors and you
Yes.
were free. You know, and that. Yes, it must be an amazing experience just to have that really.
Well, I think you got enough already with the head shake. This is Bernard Offen at Sonoma State University, and as part of the Holocaust lectures, I interviewed Bob and Joyce Mund. Mr. Mund is a World War II GI who photographed the concentration camps in Ebensee, Austria.